what have we learned about Diebold, the e-voting machine company this week? We learned from researchers at Princeton, okay, Princeton, like a good university, that Diebold voting machines can be hacked in 4 minutes. In other words, if you have the right piece of code, and I'll get to that in a second, pop it on a standard flash memory card, get access to a Diebold machine, and within 4 minutes of you approaching that machine, you can have popped this in and spread a virus from that machine to all the others hooked up on its little voting network. A virus that miscounts votes, that can vote the way you want it to, as the demonstration showed. And if you do a YouTube search on Diebold, you can find this. 10 people can vote for Mr. Jones, and 3 people can vote for Mr. Smith. Their votes will register as Jones, but when they tally them at the end, Smith wins, and there's no way to detect the software there. Okay, so we have that. We have proof. I mean, they demonstrated this. They even demonstrated it on Fox News. Okay. Then we get the Rolling Stone interview with a former Diebold programmer who says that something snarky is going on. He says that, let's see, in 2002, the state of Georgia gets this deal with Diebold that Diebold has free reign over the state's voting machines, essentially. Okay? Then, when there's an election coming up, the eve of an election, suddenly the president of Diebold's election unit, a guy named Bob Urosevich, comes in personally to distribute a software patch that has not been tested, not been approved, goes to all the machines, and the election hopefully came out okay, except that the polls leading up to the election showed one outcome, but the election went the other way. Now, I guess we've learned to tell ourselves that, oh, well, exit polls and polls don't mean anything, except that they kind of do. And if, it's a 50.5% to 49.5%, you say, all right, it could be off. But when someone's ahead by 4 or 5 or 10 points and then loses, something's wrong. So all this is going on, and people are still insisting that these Diebold machines are fine. And that is just absolutely astounding. Absolutely astounding. It's an old joke I heard a DJ make when Jeffrey Dahmer was on trial for murder, and there was a question of whether or not he was insane. And the DJ pointed out that Dahmer killed people, then drilled holes into their heads and poured antifreeze into them, hoping to reanimate them. And they were wondering whether or not he was insane. What else would he have to do to be considered insane? Whistle Dixie while he was doing it? The same thing with Diebold machines. What more do people want? Researchers at Princeton say they're hackable in minutes. A former employee says that something snarky is going on. There are problems across the country with these machines. I mean, at this point, if a state's using them and still thinks that they're legit and that Diebold machines work, they're nuts. Now, you might be sitting there thinking that I sound an awful lot like a conspiracy theorist. I'm actually not, but I'd understand if you had that point of view. So you need to ask yourself, what's your threshold? What will it take to convince you that there's something seriously wrong with these Diebold machines? Do you need another research team to weigh in? Maybe Harvard, maybe Yale? Do you need a burning bush outside your window? Do you need the San Diego chicken elected to public office? What is it? Because that's a question that not only every person, but every state legislator has to ask himself and herself. What will it take to convince you that there's something seriously, seriously wrong with using these machines in our elections? There is more than enough reasonable doubt at this point. From all these reports from reliable sources that are coming out, more than enough reasonable doubt to say these machines should not be used in the American election process. Period.